Killer Croc, Bane, Clayface. He's been the Hulk and the Abomination. You've heard him in some of the biggest video game franchises of all time, including Fallout. Any Fallout fans out there? Thought there might be. Halo, he's been in some of the Halo games. On screen, he was the head of the Sons of Anarchy motorcycle club. He's endured countless hours in makeup chairs so we could be entertained by stories about Neanderthals, Ferengis, sewer-dwelling beasts, and a certain big red agent of the Bureau of Paranormal Research and Defense. Hellboys and girls, put your hands together for Mr. Ron Perlman. Who's geeking out? Like, I'm totally geeking out here. Holy cow.
Is this working?
Can you guys hear Ron? Can we get a little volume on Ron?
Can you hear me? There we go.
All right, welcome to London, Ontario, Ron Perlman. Nice to have you here.
I'd like to do a couple of numbers now. On my first album, The Summer Wind, when I had gastritis. I'm kidding. Think about that. I'll be here all day.
Have you been to London before?
You're gonna have no control over this interview.
That's fine.
I'm warning you right now.
That's fine. I don't have much control in my life in general, Ron, so I've got lots of practice. Have you been here before? Is this your first time in London?
I was here last night, now I'm here again.
Okay. Toronto, I'm sure you filmed down the highway in Toronto a couple times. Can you remember any of the productions you're involved in there?
I don't remember breakfast this morning. We made, the last thing I did in Toronto, thank you very much. I guess this is on. We made Pacific Rim down there.
What a movie. Now, Hannibal Chow in Pacific Rim. Spoiler alert, there might be a couple of these guys. He didn't quite make it to the end of the film. They're making a Pacific Rim.
I don't know.
Well, that's the thing. They're making Pacific Rim 2.
You see, you're one of those guys that doesn't stay for the end credits.
For the end credits.
Really?
Right.
What did I miss at the end?
Why is this guy interviewing me?
Exactly.
He just went to Wikipedia and he got some shit. By the way, I'm sorry, I'm gonna say some really bad words.
Good.
If you have kids, they're gonna hear it here first. So, or maybe not first, but they're gonna definitely hear it here.
You never know though nowadays, Ron, to stay to after the credits, or if you can leave when the movie used to be over, when the credits start rolling.
So who here stayed all the way through the end credits?
Okay, tell me what happened at the end.
So who here wants to tell? Who here wants to tell my friend what happened?
Okay, come on up here. Hold on.
It's not a secret, bro.
He gets out? He crawls out of that? How did you survive that, Ron?
You remember the what is those knives called? The what? No, it wasn't a switchblade.
Oh, the
butterfly knife.
The butterfly knife.
Yeah, I cut my way out of the kaiju with the butterfly knife, bro. But you had to stay for the credits.
So, Pacific Rim 2, Hannibal Chow, looks like he may be back.
Could be.
Do we know when production's starting on that, or is it in pre-production right now?
They just postponed it. So it's postponed until further notice.
Now,
You all look so disappointed.
come on, guys.
Hellboy 3.
Hellboy 3, I've heard of the campaign for Hellboy 3 to happen.
By the way, is anybody filming this? Make sure this goes up on YouTube so Guillermo, who now happens to be free since Pacific Rim is postponed, can see how much. Who wants to see Hellboy 3? That was not a special effect, Guillermo. That was real people with blood coursing through their veins. Hot-blooded Canadians. And some people people from other parts of the North America.
What's holding up Hellboy 3? I don't understand. The first two movies were phenomenal. Clearly at the end of the second film, there was, more to the story, more to be told. So what's the problem with the studios? Why aren't they jumping all over this thing?
It could have something to do with $120 million.
Would you be looking forward to getting back in that makeup? What's the makeup process like for the character of Hellboy?
I'm at the point now where I would rather not put myself through that because I'm just, the hemorrhoids alone from all those hours. I'm sorry you had to hear that. All those hours in the makeup chair. I wouldn't trade places with anybody, by the way. But for Hellboy 3, because I feel as though we're obligated to finish. The story's not finished. We're only 2/3 of the way done, and so for me, it's more of an obligation than anything else. And so, yeah, I would happily get back and finish Guillermo's version of the end of the trilogy.
Has Guillermo given you any indication as to what the story arc, where it would go from where we left off?
Well, he's given me just enough of an indication to know that we should make the movie.
Pretty cool stuff.
Because it's pretty cool and it's very big, and it's the delivering on the promise of finding out what happens to this entity that has a non-negotiable obligation to be the beast of the apocalypse, to destroy the world. So what happened?
How long, when you did the first Hellboy movie, technology and filmmaking and special effects have changed a lot since then. What was the hours in the makeup chair before you'd start filming as that character?
Well, on a good day it's 4 hours, and on a day where I'm not wearing a shirt, it's 6 hours.
Wow, because you had to do the whole chest piece thing, and
I just had 2 hours of push-ups.
Get your pump on.
I couldn't do that before Hellboy 2.
Who had it worse, Abe Sapien? Was it Doug Jones?
Don't feel bad for me because however bad I had it, Abe was like 50% longer than me.
And how did he see out of that costume?
He had his moments where Ronnie. You're standing on my toe, Doug. Is that your toe?
Are you?
You haven't seen them. You have to watch them.
I will. The practical effects, because I watched Hellboy earlier this week at a Ron-a-thon, and I watched a bunch of your movies. The first Hellboy, there's a lot of practical effects combined with some digital, and now, of course, we've gone towards the digital more in filmmaking. Do you prefer one or the other, or are you a fan of combining the two?
I think the more you can actually do in the camera without the aid of something tacked on after the fact, the more effective it is, the more direct relationship you keep with the audience. And I think Guillermo feels that way too, so he makes as much of his images as practical as possible. All the sets are real, unless he has to build a whole city, and then part of it is real, and then there's enhancements. But the more you can actually do what's actually happening in front of your eyes, the more you kind of, in my view, keeping a kind of a better relationship with the audience.
What's the coolest? You walk on the set and you see a practical effect, you're shooting for that day and you see something. What's the coolest thing that you've seen while filming one of your films where you're blown away just by the scale or how cool what you were seeing happen right in front of your eyes was?
Usually lunch. My favorite time of the day.
Blade 2, Guillermo del Toro, of course, you two, you filmed Kronos together in the early 90s. You two have become good friends, good collaborators. When you two first met, you first started working together on that first movie, was the connection instant? Did you know that this was going to be something good?
Yeah, we met over dinner. We had never met, and we went and had dinner. We met at a restaurant in Los Angeles, and before we even ordered, we kind of had this weird feeling that we'd known each other for like 30 years. He's just a rather extraordinary guy. I came to find out that he comes from a culture that you know, almost makes it a point to not take themselves too seriously. So they're very accessible, warm people, and Guillermo is like quintessentially Mexican in that regard. But there were no barriers. It was just like instant kind of rapport, an instant kind of warmth. And I mean, before we ordered, I said, of course I'm going to be in your movie, and you know, I can't wait to watch you work. And he'd never made a film before, but I could tell that I was in the presence of a real filmmaker, somebody who I was going to be in very good hands with.
He went on to make Blade 2, the best Blade movie, with Guillermo del Toro. You're Reinhardt, the leader of the Blood Pack there with the bomb in the back of your head.
He did his homework, guys. I take back everything I said.
I'm telling you, Ron, I'm a big fan. I'm just geeking out a little bit nervous here, but it's so cool to be talking to you. I watched Blade 2 so many times. I think it is one of the best, not just Blade movies, it is the best Blade movie. It's one of the best comic book movies that has ever been made. It is a fantastic film. If you haven't seen it, you gotta go home and rent it. Because the story's fantastic, the characters are great, and just Guillermo's framing of that whole thing, you really feel like you're watching a comic book on the big screen. And I think without movies like Blade 2 and Hellboy, the comic book movies that we have today, they wouldn't exist, because I think he was one of the first to really nail it in terms of what a comic book movie should be.
Well, thank you. I have a lot to say about that. But thank you for your kind words. If it weren't for Blade 2, there wouldn't be a Hellboy, because Blade 2 opening weekend was like a smash hit, and no one was ready for that. And on the Monday after the opening weekend, everybody in Hollywood wanted to be in business with Guillermo. And so that's when he knew that he could finally sell the idea of this kind of unknown guy playing Hellboy, because people were desperate enough to just work with him. And that's what happened. Number one. Number two, Guillermo is, without equivocation, as important a comic book collector as exists on Earth. I mean, he has an amazing collection of drawings by the most important comic book artists ever, original drawings. His collection is worth millions and millions of dollars. So he doesn't come to directing comic book movies because it's a job. For him, it's like an homage. It's like a love letter to something that he has deep emotional ties to. And this is why you see what you see on the screen. It's like, it's no accident. He loves the comic book frame, and he borrows from that in his the images that he puts on, the moving images that he puts on the screen.
You mentioned he had to fight to get you cast as Hellboy. What does that entail? What was the fight for Guillermo to get you on that poster, Ron Perlman is Hellboy?
I mean, if you're going to spend the kind of money that you need to spend to make a movie, you want a brand name that's kind of a hedge against the big bet you're making, and it's understandable. So they want somebody who is a movie star. They had nothing against me personally. They just didn't think I was a safe bet. And Guillermo had to wait 7 years until he identified the opportunity where he could finally push me through. And he did it. And it's one of the most amazing things I've ever witnessed in the business, because we don't live in a business where loyalty, that kind of loyalty, and that kind of single-mindedness of vision is at work very much. Everybody's compromising just to get their freaking movie made, whereas Guillermo held true to what he saw and stayed loyal to his vision and to me, and here we are in London, Ontario.
unknown at the time. I mean, you've been in a lot of great projects. Quest for Fire, of course, was one of your first movies, which is an amazing, critically acclaimed film with no real speaking in it. You get the role Quest for Fire, and I heard after that you were having thoughts about leaving the business after Quest for Fire. Is that true?
Well, yeah, after Quest for Fire, before Quest for Fire, I was working in a boutique in Greenwich Village for my best friend who had a store on the corner of 8th Street in McDougal selling handbags and exotic jewelry. And after Quest for Fire, because of the success of Quest for Fire, I was back in the boutique selling handbags and exotic jewelry for another 2 years before I got another acting job. So it was not as if there was a big, I didn't explode onto the scene, let's say. Read my book, it's called Easy Street the Hard Way. It comes out in paperback, thank you very much. It comes out in paperback in a couple of weeks. So it's finally going to be almost affordable. But read that book. It kind of chronicles, you know, Easy Street is kind of a tongue-in-cheek thing because most people, when they see actors who've been in a lot of movies, they make assumptions that their life has just been like, you know, cupcakes and lollipops, unicorns, and just read the frickin' book, okay?
When did you feel like you had made it then, Ron? Like you became Vincent on Beauty and the Beast? Was that
when I sat down on this couch?
Vincent, Beauty and the Beast, you're on a hit TV show in the late 80s, early 90s. What was that experience like?
You know, the thing of it is I kept thinking I was going to feel something cataclysmic, and then it would be emptiness. And sometimes emptiness that like lasted for maybe a year, 2 years, 3 years. Just uncomfortable enough to feel like I was about to lose everything, my house, my family, my socks. And then I did Hellboy 2. And from the moment Hellboy 2 got finished, because Hellboy 2 was the first movie Guillermo did after Pan's Labyrinth. And for him, he was now on Mount Olympus. He was like up there with Hitchcock and Spielberg and John Ford. Because Pan's Labyrinth is cataclysmic, important film. So the next movie he does is Hellboy 2, so I get some of that goodness rubbing off on me. And then Hellboy 2 leads directly into Sons of Anarchy, which leads directly into Hand of God and, you know, a couple of dozen other things. And that's when I finally, and I was 57 years old at the time, but that's when I finally felt like I had a little momentum going.
Is there part of you that is happy that the success didn't happen overnight when you were younger and you did have to grind it out, you had to learn those lessons and you had to make it through those tunnels to the other side in terms of the person you are now compared to the person you could have become?
Well, that's why I say read the book, you know. It's when you're going through tough stuff, you don't know how great it is once you finally get out the other side. Some people don't ever get out the other side, and I'm very well aware. Sometimes people's troubles become so overwhelming that they never come out the other end. I was always lucky because I did, and then once I got to a certain point, I realized, holy shit, like all those times that were really hard, those were the times that made me keep fighting harder, keep having to negotiate with myself about staying in the deal. You know, when all the signs are pointing, get out. And if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't feel as good as I do now. For sure, I wouldn't feel as good. I wouldn't be doing as good as I'm doing now. And the only piece of advice that I really ever gave my kids that that I have any kind of respect for is when you're going through something tough, you have to kind of pull yourself aside, as hard as that's going to be, and say to yourself, this is an opportunity I'm having right now. It's an opportunity for me to become bigger and stronger and more focused. So make the tough times into an ally instead of an enemy. And that's actually useful advice, because we're all going to have really tough times. That's just the deal, man. Nobody gets out of here without that. So you may as well figure out a way to turn the negative into lemonade.
I think a lot of people can relate to that. I mean, you feel alone sometimes, you feel different sometimes, and you don't know if it's just you or if everyone goes through that. So to hear someone like you, Ron, talk about you know, not feeling like you had made it until Hellboy 2. I mean, that's something pretty special. I feel like events like this and having a London Comic Con, I can remember being a comic book nerd when I was a kid, and it was something that I didn't wear on my shirt. I wasn't proud of it because you'd get teased about it, but now we've got events like this, and we have guys like you coming out here, and I think there's a lot more acceptance, and there's a lot more of a sense of community because of it. So thank you so much for coming out here and telling us that story. That's great. We got to talk Sons of Anarchy.
Fasten your safety belts, everybody. This is going to get bumpy.
Did you ride? Did you ride before you got the role on Sons of Anarchy? Not at all. So you had to take a crash course.
And I didn't ride after I got the role on Sons of Anarchy.
So when you first got the role, did Kurt Sutter, did he give you your character's story arc? Because we talked to Kim Coates on our show, and he was telling us what a brotherhood you guys had and how much you guys loved each other on that show. And he said that you dread opening up the script when you got it because you didn't know if your character was going to be around next week, and you'd have guys leaving the show when they got killed off, and it was like a member of your family was suddenly gone. Did you know where Clay was going to start and where he was going to finish on that show?
No, I never knew. I'm not sure anybody ever really knew. The writers kind of took it one year at a time, I feel. I mean, Kurt probably always had an idea of where the thing was going to end up. But the journey getting there was kind of fluid, you know, it kept changing depending on what he was seeing. I mean, you learn a lot when you watch other people give performances. You either want to write for somebody because he's unbelievably better than you thought he was going to be, or stop writing for somebody, you know. But yeah, it was, so, no, you know, we didn't know. Is there anybody here who doesn't have cable? Who hasn't seen season 6 yet?
Binge watchers?
Well, I don't mean to fuck it up for you, but I get killed in season 6. But anyway.
I didn't stay to the end of the credits. You are dead on Sons of Anarchy.
No.
You didn't crawl out of the grave. There was a Ron Perlman hand that came out of the grave.
I cut my way out of the grave.
Good.
That unmarked grave that they were kind enough to give me. Fucking bastards. But anyway, what was the question?
I don't know. Binge watching. I mean, you're on Beauty and the Beast, which is a network TV show, and you know the traditional way that people thought about television. Now you know, Sons of Anarchy is huge on the streaming services. You've got your new show, Hand of God, on Amazon Prime. Is there one or the other that you prefer? Do you like the streaming, or do you kind of miss the old-fashioned way of watching television?
My first experience with anything that I've done that is binge watchable is Hand of God, and it only just came out about 3 weeks ago, so I'm not sure whether I have an opinion yet. But I'm a real old school guy. You know, I don't take kindly to change. I don't take kindly to new shit. You know, I had an answering machine until about Tuesday, and I didn't get that until after people had voicemail on their iPhones. That's how I resist change. So I like the old thing where a show comes down and then you got to wait a week to see the next one. But I see the frenzy of people binge watching shows. I mean, it's real. I mean, it can't be denied. And whatever floats your boat. I mean, if you want to watch all 10 shows in one day, just make sure you have some Advil nearby, and good luck. And a toilet.
I'm surprised to hear you say you don't like new things. You're pretty active on Twitter and social media. Do you enjoy that kind of stuff, or is it something you feel you need to do because of the business?
Well, it took me 4 or 5 years after most of my friends were on Twitter, laughing at them and going, you're such a... Jesus, really? Twitter? And even the sound of it is like, stupid. Facebook? I wouldn't want my face in a book. What the fuck is it?
By the way, his face is on a book. It's called Easy Street the Hard Way, coming up in paperback.
Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you. How many people are going to run out and buy that? Because... Nice. No, but I resist change, but then the minute I finally succumb to it, I become like voracious. Like I'm a voracious tweeter. I have to admit it, man. I wake up every morning, and that's the first thing I do is I check the feeds and I figure out what's going to be Ron's words of the day. I find that I have an obsessive need for everybody to know what I'm thinking at all times. So that's what social media is good for.
I saw on Twitter you were paying tribute to Yogi Berra. We lost a legend. You're a big Yankees fan. Did you have a chance to meet Yogi Berra? Listen, let's leave the Blue Jays out of it for now. I know they're 2 hours down the highway. You don't want to piss off Hellboy.
No, I'm done being a Yankees fan. I hear the Blue Jays are doing great this year.
They're ahead of the Yankees.
It's always been a great organization. Always given the East teams a run for the money. I don't remember what the hell.
Yogi Berra.
Oh yeah. Yogi Berra. I got very lucky. I played in the Bob Hope golf tournament. It was a pro-am, televised event, and Yogi was the commissioner of the event. So I got a chance to hang with him 2 or 3 days in a row, and we really got into some good schmoozing. I made him laugh. He made me laugh. Like real Yogiisms and real Pearlisms, like all in one, under one roof. It was like sensory overload. But I grew up in the 50s. I watched his entire career. I watched him replace Bill Dickey as the Yankees catcher, and I watched him all the way till he retired. And I saw pretty much every at-bat he had as a professional. So he felt like family anyway. These people do, these people movie stars you follow, the sports figures you follow, they feel like your family when you're that close to them. So for me, it was a personal loss when Yogi went. God bless him though, 90 years old, he had a great run. Yogi, I'll see you soon, baby.
Hopefully not too soon. Let's make
Hopefully not this week.
Okay, does anyone have a question for Ron Perlman? All right, we got some out there. Let's go into the crowd here.
And just as a disclaimer, for those of you that we don't get to, Ron is here all weekend, so visit him and ask those intimate questions you might have. We have a guy with a microphone.
Hi. I just want to know, what was your favorite episode when you were on Sons of Anarchy?
My favorite actress?
No, favorite episode.
Which episode of Sons of Anarchy was your favorite?
I thought season 4 was our high point, and there were a lot of episodes in season 4 that I thought season 2 was great. season 2 was where we hit our stride, and then season 4 was where we were the strongest as we were as a family. The original core. Then we started losing people. Opie went, you know. But I couldn't pick one episode.
All right, do we have someone else here? Let's get the mic. We'll get to you in the front. You're just dying to ask a question. I love it. Right up here. Let's get it. Here we go.
Hi, Ron.
Hi.
Okay, I want to tell you, Hand of God, I don't know how many people in Canada have been able to see it because Amazon is not streaming it.
Yeah, can you make a phone call for us, Ron? Amazon's not streaming your show up here. I tried to watch it too.
See, you can work on that when you go back to home.
I'm actually shocked
We are too.
that it's like Canada, of all places,
Yeah.
doesn't have Amazon Prime, so I'm going to work on that.
Okay.
Thank you.
I just wanted to tell you, though, that I've been a long-time fan of yours, and I think that the work that you've done on Hand of God is the best work you've ever done. And the whole entire thing is amazing. Like, it's quality straight through, right from the writing, your performance, your other actors that are on it with you, the quality of the set design, the lighting, everything about it is just beautiful and quality. But I do have a question, because I think this is one of the first things that you've done that you're the executive producer for. I'm wondering what your day-to-day responsibilities look like on top of being a lead actor on a show to be an executive producer.
Thank you. I didn't want to talk too much about Hand of God because I just found out it doesn't play here in Canada, which we're going to have to fix, because it is, for me, it's like a culmination. It's a lot of things I've always wanted to be challenged with as an actor, and I get a chance with this character. And also, yes, I'm an executive producer because I was one of the first people on board, even before we sold it to Amazon. And I was a very active producer up until we started shooting, and then I made a deal with everybody. I said, now I become the actor. I'm only going to do a producerial kind of thing if you need me to. But I was surrounded by so many amazing people that they never really needed me to get involved. And I just really wanted to concentrate on playing the character because there was plenty there on my plate. But yeah, you know, if you're an 8-cylinder car, you know, most of your life, if you're an actor, you're only going to be working on 3 or 4 or 5 cylinders. Pernell Harris, the Honorable Judge Pernell Harris, I was working on 14 cylinders, and I came out of it drained and satiated and really proud. And one of the things that I'm proudest of is I was involved in all the decisions as to which actors were going to end up in those roles, and we have an amazing ensemble of actors, amazing. So yeah, thank you.
What's the difference? You're talking about the range with the character on Hand of God that you experienced as an actor. What's the difference between acting without the makeup on? I mean, it must be freeing not to have the makeup on, and it must be a lot different to act with it on. What are the differences?
I've said this before, but when I was a young actor, I was very insecure with this, and by putting on like enough makeup so that there was no longer this, it was completely covered and I was transformed into something else, it freed me up to give a real performance where I didn't have to worry about what an asshole Ron is, you know. And so you'll see in my early work, it was one makeup role after another. It was Quest of Fire, and then Name of the Rose, and then Beauty and the Beast, and, you know. And if it weren't for those opportunities, I wouldn't have been able to spread my wings and figure out who I was as an actor. As I got older and I got more comfortable with myself, I needed the makeup less and less. And so now, for me, it's like, there's no difference. You know, with having it on or having it not on, there's no difference. And it's a whole lot quicker in the morning to not.
Yeah, you say Hellboy, you sit in that makeup chair 4 hours. How long would you shoot for after that?
Another 12 or 13.
Oh my God, it's grueling. We have another question out in the crowd here.
Don't feel bad for me, I'm a movie star.
Yes, you are.
Kind of a two-part question here. Your death in Sons, did you see that coming? And afterwards, were you disappointed by that, or would you rather have stayed on longer? Were you kind of done?
I was told before we started shooting season 6 that I was going to go at the end of that season. It's always bittersweet to say goodbye to a character that, especially one that you played for 6 years. I'd never played a character for 6 years. I didn't realize how attached you got to not only the character, but the whole family. But we all had to say goodbye eventually. Some of us it took 4 years, some of us took 5, some 6. Some got all the way to the end, which was 7. But everybody's now had to make their peace with moving on. All I can say is it was a life-changing moment in my career, playing Clay, and the amount of love and adulation that the series got from people in general, including that dude back there. And it happened, and you know, bittersweet, whatever, it happened, and it ultimately was a phenomenally positive experience.
You're talking prequel or sequel to Sons? Will you be involved in that at all, Ron? No. All right. Who else has a question for Ron Perlman? Yeah, oh, the Blue Jays hat.
How's it going, Ron? So, it's just been a question in the back of my mind. I know this is going on about 3 decades ago, but how did the audition process go for Quest for Fire with all the, no talking and whatnot? And were you just kind of picked for the role, or did you actually have to go through a process kind of thing?
No, it was a process. Jean-Jacques, who directed the film, went to 33 cities around the world, and he would have 2 days of kind of like movement training where he was training people to, the kind of movement that there was going to be employed, playing these post-Neanderthal, pre-Cro-Magnon characters. And then it ended with an improvisation where you would be asked to do something that way you could utilize all these aspects of what you were supposed to have learned over the last couple of days. And I was just the best.
All right, what else we got out there?
Hi Ron, how are you? I got a question and a statement. My statement is, I met Ryan first last month on Comic-Con in Windsor. And he's really proud that I got you
That's on camera, too.
released after your motorcycle.
Ruined my whole video.
And so,
Me?
is that you? I think he said somebody else on the show.
I can't believe he opened his mouth and told.
And my question is, out of all the characters that you've played throughout the years, which one do you favor the most? Like your absolute favorite character you've played?
My favorite character?
Like so far.
I mean, it's like asking me who my favorite child is, I love all my children equally. I would probably, there are none of them, but I only want to do Hellboy because I feel like we owe the fans the story, but I feel like there are no characters that I feel a need to go back and play except for Judge Burnell Harris, because I feel like I'm only just getting to know that guy, and there's so much more to him to be revealed, and he just challenges me in a way that no other character ever has before. So, and that's where I like to be.
Any more questions for Ron?
It's hot in here, right?
Yes. So I'm sweating like a pig, Ron.
Sweating like a whore in church.
Hey, how you doing? So I'm a fan of your voice acting work for video games.
Good, right, yeah.
Yeah, sorry. I'm a fan of your voice acting work, all video games now, especially Fallout. So I'm just wondering, has war changed for you?
War never changes, bro.
Excellent. Is there any franchise that you want to have your voice attached to in video games?
Anything that makes money.
Are you a gamer? Do you play at all, Ron?
No.
No. There's a lot of dialogue in video games. Like if you're working on a Fallout game, what's like how many weeks, how many months are you in the booth recording for something like that?
I'm coming out in the next Call of Duty game. And that was...
Anyone play Call of Duty?
Yeah.
Listen for Ron in the next game. You guys can make noise too, eh?
But Call of Duty was probably the most lines I ever... I think they needed me for like 3 consecutive long days to do that.
All right, I've got a list here of some of your co-stars. I'm gonna read a name and you tell me the first thing that pops into your head, okay?
Maybe not the first thing.
Sean Connery.
Oh my God, the best.
The best. Let's try Jeffrey Tambor.
The most neurotic Jewish man. If it wasn't for him, I would be the most neurotic Jewish man I've ever met. Jeffrey Tambor is an amazingly talented guy, and unfortunately you guys will never know that because you don't get Amazon, but he's playing this transgender late 60s character for a show called Transparent on Amazon Prime.
He just won the Emmy.
And he just won the Emmy, he won the Golden Globe. He's phenomenal, and he's working with him, I have to wear a girdle because otherwise I would laugh my intestines out.
I think we can get transgender up here somewhere.
Yes,
yeah, we can get transgender up here. You've played a transgender character in your career as well.
You were really ugly.
What was that like, putting on that wig and looking in the mirror?
It was, it was on the bucket list. I found out that I'm the ugliest woman you've ever seen. But Phyllis, she has a place that will remain near and dear in the deep recesses of my heart and some of my other organs.
Your co-star in Alien Resurrection, Sigourney Weaver.
Very, very tall.
Charlie Hunnam, Jax, on Sons of Anarchy.
He shot me in the fucking throat.
Now, this young man...
Good luck to you, pal.
This young man was born right here in London, Ontario. I don't know if you knew this, but he was the star of Drive, Ryan Gosling.
Woo! London, Ontario, that's where I heard the name before. I just love this kid's guts, man. He's such a pure artist. And I admire, he's as big a movie star as exists on the planet, but he's not doing stupid things with his power and fame. He's sticking to very small, beautiful, intimate projects. He has the same aesthetic as I do. He has the same love and regard for cinema as I do. And he's just as nice a guy as you
finally watched Drive.
Typical Canadian.
We've all heard the stories about the island of Dr. Moreau. What was it like working
If you really want to read the stories, go buy Easy Street the hard way. How many people here are buying Easy Street the hard way that weren't buying it the last time I asked you? Fuck. I'm not doing that well here.
I'm sure there's a lot you can
For
say.
sure I was selling some books.
Marlon Brando, can you just give us a quick, because I hear there's a whole chapter devoted to working with Brando in the book.
I got Marlon at his fattest. All I can say is the stories that I have about Marlon are too long to go into here, and they would demand that kind of attention to detail because they're that funny. So go buy the book. Now, how many people are going to buy the book that weren't going to buy the second book? Okay, we're getting someplace. Amazon. You can go to Amazon, but you don't get here.
No, we have Amazon. We have Amazon. It's like the Amazon Prime, yeah.
Jesus, that's weird.
Yeah, I know.
As soon as I walk off the stage, I'm making some phone calls.
Okay, what emotions?
In fact, I should probably not wait. I should probably just call them now. Hang on. Anybody have the number for Amazon?
I know the website. Kim Coates.
Who?
Kim Coates. Tig.
Kim Coates is, if he's not the best actor I've ever worked with, he's tied for first with Marlon and a couple other people. Kim Coates is, you guys should be proud, he's Canadian. He's from Saskatoon, which I never could spell. But the exchange, the bond that, one of the reasons I was so pissed off at the direction that Clay went toward the end was because of how much I missed that original stuff that happened between Clay and Tig. You know, when I was the president and he was the sergeant at arms, and the stuff we cooked up together, that was like my favorite stuff on the whole. An extraordinarily beautiful actor, and he's here.
Yes.
So when he comes and talks to you guys, just pay, you know, about 50% of what he's saying.
We have time for a couple more questions.
Hey Kim, how you doing?
Couple more questions. Where are we with the microphones here?
Right over here.
There we are.
Hi there, Ron.
Hey.
Maybe a bit of a niche question, but what was it like working with Nicolas Cage?
Wow, man, like, wow. He's, I had a great time with him. He's way more accessible and professional and dedicated than most actors I've ever worked with. Very bright guy, loves people, loves other actors. So I became like a sucker for Nick. Nick is like, he's good people.
We have another one here. Right up front. Yep, couple up front here.
Hi, Ron. How are things going with you with Wing and a Prayer Productions? How's that going, and when are the films coming out?
So we produced All I See Is You, which is Mark Forrest's new film. We produced a movie called The Runaround with J.K. Simmons and Emile Hirsch, which we're hoping to get into Sundance. And we're in the process of producing the first of about 4 movies, hopefully this year, with this deal we have with New York State, where Governor Cuomo has given us all these stimulus incentives and resources to raise up central New York. And we're going really good. We're going slow and very steady. I'm having really a lot of fun picking the movies that we put our resources in, and then shepherding them all through to when they get to you guys. And it's going to be how I go out. Ring and Prayer is going to be my desk job when I can no longer get the wheels turning.
Okay, who wants to ask Ron Perlman the final question here? Right over here, we have the final question.
Better be good.
Katie, how you doing?
So my question is, for the first and second Hellboy film, where were they filmed? Like, the locations?
Hellboy 1 was shot in Prague, Czech Republic, and Hellboy 2 was shot in Budapest, Hungary.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And we can't wait to find out where Hellboy 3 is going to be shot, am I right?
London, Ontario, baby.
Yeah, let's do it! We got a lot of nice old buildings here, Ron. You'll love it. Tell Guillermo about us. Hellboy 3, hopefully, fingers crossed. Tell your friends, make a big stink online about it. Let's make this thing happen. Pacific Rim 2, Hannibal Chow isn't dead. I'm going home to watch the last, 30 seconds of Pacific Rim after this. And of course, when Amazon decides to let us see it, can't wait to watch Hand of God. get his book, which is called Easy Street. There it is, Easy Street the hard way.
How many people want to get my book? Now we're getting someplace.
You can go meet Ron. He's here the rest of today. He's here tomorrow at London Comic Con. Make some noise one more time for the legend, Ron.